What's the haps? I'm John, aka Meroka, and welcome to Spiel. We are in a gate that I didn't note down this week. What gate am I in? I think I'm in Coral Phantom or Sapphire Queen. Sapphire Queen, that's what it is. And it's going to be mostly beasties. There's an option for jellies here, but we ended up with beasties. Oh, there is some jellies. Hello, jellies. This is going to be the Stone Grove, which is alongside all the jelly farms. I like the jelly farm levels. The jelly farms are weird, but kind of cool. I've said before I kind of tired of the green levels, but there's kind of two sets of green levels. There's like the construct green levels, which are... I've played those far too often. And then there's the beast stroke slime green levels. I don't know, they're kind of cool. These were like some of the first levels they designed in Spiral Knights as well. These are the oldest existing levels. Little factoid there, a little bit of factoid. So let us start off with some Spiral Knights news. Yeah! Because that is how we tend to start things around here. We have a new prize box, surprising precisely nobody. It is a ruby prize box, which gets you a lot of ruby prizes in the boxes. I will show you them as soon as I stop being ambushed and attacked and onslaughted. Is onslaughted a word? I don't think onslaught can be used in that context. By jellies. Ruby is perhaps, as you would not really be terribly surprised to learn, mostly just red reskins of all the things that exist in the game already. So let's have a look at them. Let's bring up the energy depot. This is... Oh, hey, it's the first thing that comes up on here. I looked at this a moment ago, and the battle pack came up first, so I guess it's random, to be honest, whether this comes up first or not. So, yeah, that's what it looks like. You got all the ruby-looking stuff. You got the ruby medallion thingy that they've got going on there. I guess is perhaps one of the more unique things in the group. Everything else just seems to be, hey, it's all the gear that already exists in Spiral Knights colored red. There's the crystal wings, but I'm pretty sure they're very similar to the icy wings that are in there before. That crown is... That's similar to the Apocryphal crown, question mark? I think. So, if you like red-coloured things, hey, this is the promo for you. I'm going to call it now. I'm pretty certain that we're going to see, within the next couple months, a Emerald and a Sapphire promo, as well as maybe whatever other precious gems they feel they can milk colour schemes out of. I think Emerald and Sapphire are probably good follow-ups to that. Let's have some blues and greens as well in the same style. Of course they'll do that, of course they will. It's too easy a choice not to do that, really. Lesson for everybody who doesn't know this, there's a switch in one of these. Is it the right one? It's not this one, it's the next one, isn't it? Bring a gun, shoot over there. Boom! We hit a switch. Magic switch that makes it a magic invisible key that you didn't know about up here. Gotta point that one out every time, just in case anybody doesn't know about that one. It's a good one to get. Just a little bit of extra loot on this level. It's fun to bring along for the ride. So, yeah. I will say, with the promos, I really don't know why they don't push them, like, harder when you log into the game. Just from a free-to-play monetization perspective, any other game, when you logged into the game, it would be like, hey, look at the promo, check out the promo, there's a thing. If you don't really follow the website and check for promos or look on the supply depot, which a lot of people don't, a lot of free-to-play players don't really go into the supply depot, because that's kind of your... That's not for free-to-play players to really peruse terribly often. It really doesn't put that kind of deal front and center, so they will never learn about the promos. They should be, upon login to the game, there should be a what's hot kind of in the store kind of dealio going on. It's like, hey, look at all the things that you can get for your monies. Any other game would be like, hey, buy the stuff. And they don't do that. So, yeah, I can work for you as a free-to-play monetization consultant if you would like 3 rings. I can do that for you. I can easily do that. Hire me! Hire me. I will consult. Anyway, let's do some channel news now that I've stopped whinging about promos. I'm not whinging about promos, I'm just whinging about how 3 Rings handles it, because they handle their promos so badly. So badly. And that's the, by the way, this bit is the secret room. That's what that key gets you into. It gets you that little extra loot. Because otherwise you go past it later on in the level and you're like, how in the name of God do I get that? It's one I was like, I missed a bit, and I don't know how I missed a bit. If you don't know that key's there. So let's do the channel stuff. So I have finally completed my New Year's resolution, I suppose. My New Year's resolution was that I was finally going to push to get better internet. I've been pushing my landlord for over 6 months at this point. We have finally got fiber optic internet installed in our household, and that means I can do more interesting things. For starters, you will be noticing, if you're watching this YouTube video at a reasonable resolution, that the video looks a lot more shiny. It looks higher frame rate, perhaps. So I'm going to try to capture Spiral Knights at 60 FPS from now on, because one of the biggest factors limiting my doing Spiral Knights at 60 FPS before is just simply the file size. Hey, I can find out what's in those. Boop. It's nothing I'm interested in. Yeah, it's mostly just a file size issue. It's like, if I were to do 60 FPS video, and I did do that with ROS Fusion, I know, but it just ends up creating massive, massive files that take forever to upload. And yeah, on my old internet, that was just not really a practical solution. I don't know why I'm breaking these. There's no real reason for me to be breaking them. Yeah, it wasn't a practical thing. I did the ROS Fusion at 60 FPS, but they were much shorter videos than my Spiral Spiel tends to be, so they came out at over 2 gig a video, and that took... How long does that take? That was like a 5 to 6 hour upload. Spiral Spiel would have been probably... You'd been looking at... I could quite easily imagine like 8 or 9 hour uploads to get a 60 FPS Spiral Spiel up, and that's just silly talk, because also that's then using most of my house's bandwidth, so you can't do a lot else on the internet whilst you're doing that. I can't play any other online games. Yeah, it's not great. So now I've got a faster internet, and it's not massively faster. It's not as much faster as I would have liked it to have been, but I think it's fast enough. I now have 3 gig up compared to my old 0.8 gig up. So I kind of neglected to upload Assassin's Creed last night and uploaded it this morning over breakfast, and where it would normally have taken 2 and a bit hours, it took about 40 minutes, so I'm kind of okay with that. I reckon I could probably get a 60 FPS Spiral Knights video up in a reasonable time frame, so I shall. That's what I'm going to do from now on. With the exception of being anything that was done in Haven, I guess, because you can't get 60 FPS in Haven. It's like the game runs fine everywhere else. In Haven, it suddenly just drops to like 20 FPS because players just seem to wreak havoc on FPS in MMOs, which is weird because, you know, players are kind of one of the big deals in MMOs. Someone really needs to figure out how to optimize player models in MMO territory. Until in every MMO, it's like you go into a crowded place, one of the major city hubs, and it's like suddenly your frame rate just tanks. Just because they're just player models, that's all it is. So yeah, that's going to be good. That also is fast enough to live stream content. I did a little live streaming last night. If you didn't catch it, it was a couple of hours worth of Sky Saga. Why am I breaking all the boxes? I feel like there are going to be things in boxes now. I did a couple of hours of Sky Saga PvP, which was fun and entertaining. I was joined by Alzarath and a couple of other fans, and people dropped in, and Sky Saga gave me a retweet, so I think some other people found things. It's cool. I'm gonna try and get some sort of live stream schedule figured out, and I would like to include Spiral Knights to some degree in that, which I'm sure will make a lot of people happy. The one thing I said probably like over a year ago that I really wanted to make happen was to bring back Blast Network. Was a kind of a feature I would like to do. Is just I don't like Lockdown. I like Blast Network. It's a PvP I can deal with. So I would kind of like to have, if people are on board with this, one night each week, one evening, where for an hour or 2 hours or what have you, I will live stream Spiral Knights on Twitch, and it will be Blast Network, and anybody who wants to join me is free to join me. So, or for all the people who have always, since the dawn of time, I've had people like, can I be in your videos? Can I be in your videos? You can be on my Twitch stream if you want to do it that way. It does me, and it's just, I just want to encourage people to play the unloved game, which is actually a really good game. I like Blast Network, and more people need to play that. So, if we can arrange a time to get everybody to come back and play Blast Network, we will have a Blast Network stream. How's that grab you? How does that sound? Was this a wild path? I think this was a wild path, so I think I'm still geared up for it. It is beasties. We are geared, we are fine. So that's the news on the channel. I will attempt to make 60 FPS content where possible, where games run at 60 FPS, where they're, you know, optimized well enough, or simple enough, or just straight up not locked at 30. I will, from now on, continue to try and make 60 FPS content. That's not going to be possible with every game. There's no way I could capture Assassin's Creed at 60 FPS, unfortunately. But that's by the by. Spiral Knights I certainly can and will. So that's going to be a step up. I can't do 1080 content. I still can't do 1080p because that would require me to have a bigger monitor, and I don't have the money for a bigger monitor right now. So that's not happening. Of course, if you would like to provide me with the money to get a bigger monitor, you could support me over at my Patreon account at patreon.com/buttonmash, and with a bit of saving up, I could eventually get to a point where I can make 1080p content, and then that would be an upgrade for everybody, and you could contribute to the upgrading of the Button Mash channel, and that would be something to put on your resume. It probably wouldn't, but it could be a point of personal pride, if nothing else. Yes, you may have pride in knowing you have improved the entertainment quality for the world. So, what else? I feel like I had other channel things. I kind of want to carry on with Assassin's Creed, just insofar as, like, I haven't even really finished the tutorial stuff yet, but it's already kind of at the point where it's kind of got the viewing numbers that I would drop that series in any other circumstance. It's like, if I've got 2,000 subscribers. If I get 20 views on a video within the first week and nothing more, it's usually a good indication that it's not a very popular series, and I should probably not be making any more videos in that series. Assassin's Creed is kind of getting those numbers, which kind of makes me feel like I should really do something else. I don't want to do something else right now. I'm quite enjoying that game, so I'm kind of torn on that particular series. I don't know where to go with that. Additionally, Sky Saga, at least building-wise, comes to an end temporarily. I'll be doing more when 5.0 comes out, which should be probably in August, I'd have thought. I actually don't know what else I'm going to do on my channel in the meantime. As always, I'm open to suggestions. I promise nothing. If you want to say, hey, this is a cool game, you could play that, I will at least listen to you. I don't necessarily promise that I'm going to do what you ask. That is all I have ever promised on this channel, is like, I will listen to what you have to say. I may not act on it, but please feel free to suggest what the heck you might like to see replacing some of the Sky Saga content until 5.0. So, yeah. Is there anything else to note? Yeah, I just need to establish a Twitch stream. If there's anything else that you think would be great to have a weekly kind of thing of, I definitely would like to get some weekly Sky Saga PvP going on and some weekly Blast Network at some point. And then probably just some other stream of just whatever I'm doing. The thought occurs that if I'm researching something for a critique video, I could just sort of, you know, the first 2-3 hours, however long I'm playing the game, just to get to grips with it, to figure out what the heck it is. I could do that as a stream, maybe? Don't know if there's any interest in that. Thoughts, feedback, ideas in the comments. As always, I'm listening, I'm always listening. Ever omnipresent and always listening. Ready to take feedback. Okay, I've rambled for half a video about me and news and things, so let's do some questions. Let us answer some questions, because obviously we have a pile from them a couple of weeks back, and you guys keep asking me them, which is wonderful. Feel free to continue asking me them, and when I run out, I will bribe you all again, probably, so keep asking questions, and I will give you a mini shout-out when I answer your question on the video, so let us have a look at what I've got. I'm not planned for this one terribly thoroughly on this one. Annick says, how do you feel about physics not being able to solve the 3-body collision problem? Do you think we should first focus on more simple problems like this one instead of trying to explain far more complicated things? I think you underestimate how complicated that is. The reason it has not been solved is because it is a terribly complicated problem. From an outsider's perspective, it's just like, hey, we can't really explain very well how 3 celestial bodies orbit around each other in we can't figure that one out very well. If you've got 3 planets, moons, asteroids, whatever, kind of in formation, it's kind of all kind of orbiting around. I think it's when they're all orbiting around the same point. It's kind of difficult to predict their motion and whatnot. I'm not sure the exact specifics. Either way, it's one of the big problems in physics, and it's just sort of one of those things. Is like, well, it seems like it should be pretty easy to explain, so why can't you? And it's like, well, because you haven't tried. The reason it hasn't been solved is because it actually is a terribly complicated problem, and also, I'm not sure solving the problem, I'm sure, would be a fantastic breakthrough in mathematics and physics and whatnot, but I am not sure what problems that would solve, whereas when we're talking about solving other things, it's things that are achievable and drive forward progress in other fields to allow humanity to advance. When you say, oh, we haven't solved the simple problems, it's not simple, and we can actually work on explaining the complicated things. Whereas this is one that, I imagine there are people still working on it. I think there have been multiple solutions posed, but nothing really solved on the 3-body problem. But it's not as clear-cut as that. Hey, treasure! I like treasure. I like treasure music as well. Treasure music is great. Let's go get some treasures. Roller Duck says, I want to congratulate you on both your subscriber and viewer milestones. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. And thank you for watching. Thank all of you for watching, because you're the ones who actually made the subscriber and viewer milestones. I didn't do nothing. You all subscribed. That's all you're doing. So thank you very much for that. Thank you for getting me to those milestones. And questions, what do you think about big corporations like Google running almost everything? Phone production, email, search engine, and robotics industries. You prefer it that way? Would you rather society controlled by smaller companies? What do you think would make the world a better place? I don't think the size of the company is necessarily a factor. I think it's just the way stuff works. Okay, that's cool. Spark, yay. It's, with something like Google, I don't dislike Google generally as a company. I mean, their corporate policy is don't be evil. That is that is how Google operates. In all that they do, they strive to do no evil. Or they're supposed to. Some people might take argument with some of the stuff they've done in that regard, but generally speaking, Google's policy is to try to do no evil in all that they do. Other companies are perhaps less focused on that particular idea and more focused on, hey, how can we get the best return on our shareholders' investments? I would, very much argue that a lot of companies probably focus on that. I would argue that probably, to be fair, Google focuses on that, but at the same time, it's not, the two don't need to be incompatible. You get a lot of companies that, they just kind of are evil. I would go so far as to say News Corporation, the Murdoch Empire, they're pretty evil. They don't do news. Their name is wrong. They're mostly pushing political agendas and calling it news, which is disingenuous at best. And no. Can't be approving of those guys, I'm afraid, and I'm getting a little political, so I'm going to stray away from that for now. But yeah, there are companies in this world which do not do as much good, and I think it's important to support small and local businesses. There are a lot of small local businesses around me that I love supporting, especially in more creative, crafty kind of industries, certainly in terms of beer. I'm a big fan of beer, so I like local craft beers. But at the same time, there's bigger companies who also make an excellent product, and I'm quite happy to support them because they do a lot of good as well. Sam Adams, for example, in Boston, they have innovated. They've provided a lot to the local beer scene around there. I believe they came up with an innovative new can design that they just kind of made available to everyone. Any bigger company, if you had AB, like the guys who do Budweiser, they spend millions on their R&D departments to come up with some brand new innovative design. Do you think they would give that away? I would be hard pressed to believe that they would. I think they'd be like, hey, we've got this innovation, let's not share it with anyone. And then you got Sam Adams who's just like, hey, we've come up with a kind of a cool new thing here. Let's give it to everybody so that everybody can benefit from our developments. That's good. I think it's not a matter of company size, because Sam Adams are a huge business. they've started popping up quite regularly in bars around the UK now. I've seen taps of Sam Adams in quite a few pubs lately, and I'm okay with that. Sam Adams do very nice beer, so I'm okay with seeing their taps in UK bars, absolutely. And yeah, they've done a lot of good for the beer scene. Some might argue that the owner is not a terribly nice person, but there are some stories of him making venue owners cry and things out there, which is like, that seems unnecessary. You didn't really need to go and do that. But on the whole, generally as a company, I feel like they're one of the better ones, in spite of them being a large company. Google is a good company, in spite of being one of the large ones. So it's not a matter of size, it's just... It's just a matter of morality, I think. With smaller companies, I wouldn't want to see the world run by smaller companies because you wouldn't get the innovation then. I think the innovation within companies and within most of the fields is driven by large companies having the investment ability to do that. So it's a beastly brawl. So I'm still fine for gear. So yeah, your large companies have the large amounts of money. That money can be put into R&D, such as developing brand new beer cans or whatever. I couldn't for the life of you tell you what was so innovative about that beer can. I just remember them just going on about it. It was like, hey, we got this, and we're just going to give it to all the little craft breweries in the Massachusetts area. You guys can all benefit from our design. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. So... yeah, you kind of need the money to be able to spend on innovation and development, but the small companies quite often don't have that. While it's nice to be able to support those little businesses, and quite often they come up with some cool stuff, because like they say, I love small local craft beer, but I think that kind of works anywhere. It's like, I like small local craft beer wherever it is in the world. I mean, you want to import some from Europe, you want to import some from America, that's fine. It's just mostly that when you get to the big one, as soon as you get to the big size, you do then get to the companies that are just like, more profit, more profit, more profit. We don't care about whether our product is actually excellent or not, just as long as it's making money. If we can market it well enough, it will make money, and we're not bothered about whether the product is actually any good. See, for example, Budweiser, whose latest marketing campaign mostly just seems to be attacking people who actually do like a quality product. So, class act there, huh? Yes. I only use beer as an illustration just because, quite frankly, it's an industry I'm familiar with, to a certain degree. The same could apply to games. I guess within the game scene, definitely there is more scope for innovation on the smaller scale, just because there's more creative freedom in that regard. Certainly in terms of creativity, I guess smaller teams are allowed more creativity, whereas with the bigger ones, maybe not. And I think even beer creation is a craft, it is an art. There's something to it there that makes it... I would file it under creativity. When it comes to stuff like technology, yeah, you're not going to get small companies that can really push the boundaries on technology as much as a bigger company could. Which is why we see... oh, who was it? Can't remember who it was. Lexus, I think? Recently put out a design for what they reckon is going to be the new hoverboard, because hoverboards are currently the thing, because it is 2015, so of course hoverboards are the thing. So yeah, there's some big tech company who's like, well, Lexus I always think of as cars, but I guess they must do other stuff, I don't know. So they were like, hey, look, we've invented a hoverboard, and it's better than all the other hoverboards, and, well, we'll see about that, but it's supposed to be good. Got that going for it. I'm just going to set this jelly on fire, mostly. So yeah, that's... You'd be hard-pressed to get a small company doing that. I mean, I guess people have tried that, but again, it's kind of reliant on them raising large sums of money through Kickstarter. And it's like, well, that's doable, but... to really get the R&D and development and the budget behind it, the big companies are there for that. It's just balancing having the budgets to do good things with actually doing good things, and not just having the budgets to make more money. If you have a large budget and all you use it for is telling the world how wonderfully amazing your product is and that everybody should be buying it, there's better uses of your money. You could be furthering all sorts of things, but I understand being beholden to shareholders. I absolutely understand where that's coming from. I just don't approve of it. So, yeah. So yeah, a little of both would be good. As long as the companies are good, you should support them. Support the best companies. Vote with your wallet. So that's where I'm going with that one. Vote with your wallet. Buy products from companies that you like. If you don't like a product or a company, maybe avoid their products. If you don't support something, your best way to not support that company is not to buy things from them. If you continue to buy things, you kind of essentially showing your implicit approval of what that company is doing. Which is something people have been advocating for in gaming for years. It's like, hey, pre-orders are not consumer-friendly. You are not benefiting in any way from pre-orders. So, stop pre-ordering? I should have brought a shadow weapon, damn it. If you don't like a company doing pre-orders, don't pre-order things. But everyone's like, oh, but the pre-order bonuses. Yes, but is that cosmetic skin in that one game you're going to be playing 8 months from now really worth the poor consumer practices in the long run, really, is what it is. Is that what that boils down to? It's just poor consumer practices. Oh god, I'm going to get hit by a lot of things that hurt. Ow. No! Run away. Eat a pill. Oh, he's going to eat a pill now, isn't he? No! Get dead. Oh, he dropped a pill. Good. We have Wolvers. Wolvers I can stab comfortably. Let's move on to another question. I'm trying to look through my list and not get eaten by things. How do we? I am Phoenix says, how do we stop humans from overpopulating the Earth without the colonization of other planets? Education, mostly, I think, is education, and furthermore, more research and development, I think, is where that needs to go. I will reference this man till the end of time, because he is an excellent writer. Alistair Reynolds, his current trilogy, of which I need to buy and read the third book, actually. That came out very recently, and I have not yet bought it. His, beginning with Blue Remembered Earth, it's the Poseidon's Children trilogy. Features a world a few hundred years into the near future. I mentioned before, it deals with the idea of the resource and relocation crises of the 21st century, because the Earth is running out of resources and overpopulated and whatnot. And a big part of their solution to relocating is to populate the oceans, basically. There are ocean-bound civilizations. A lot of that does involve sort of human kind of genetic modification, I suppose. So you kind of got aquatic peoples, is kind of it's the aquatic nations. I mean, 2/3 of our planet is ocean, so if we could find a way to colonize that, that would create a lot of space for a lot of people to live. If we wanted to put more people on our planet, we could make better use of the space. We absolutely do not make excellent use of the space on our planet. We got 7 billion people, and they're not very well spread out over all the lands. They are fairly well concentrated in just a few places, really. So we absolutely could stand to make a better use of our planet. So that's where innovation and development would come into it. And I certainly think education improves things. We've got a lot of sort of developing nations where the attitude is, if you have more kids, those kids can be put to work and bring in more money for the family. And it's like, well, that's kind of an attitude that is kind of leading to overpopulation, and it's simply a nature of the developing nations as well. So innovation, improving, helping out developing nations to become developed nations would aid a lot in that. I mean, you go back a few hundred years and you'll find that in what we'd currently say were developed nations, you'll find that people had a lot more kids back then as well, because they would go to work a lot sooner and they would be able to contribute to the family. Hell, my grandma's got stories of going to work when she was 14 and most of her paycheck had to be handed over to her mother so that she could, pay her way towards food and bills and whatnot in the house, because that was the way of the world that's less than 100 years ago. That's we're talking. I mean, heck, that would have been 14. That would have been mid-40s, for Christ's sake. Not that long ago at all in the grand scheme of things. So the idea that we should have less kids is very much a very, very recent development in a lot of places. And then you got stuff like China imposing the one-child rule. I appreciate the concept there, it's... In practice, it turns out to be nigh on impossible to enforce and very, very unpopular as a concept. Just telling people, no, you're not allowed to have children. Who'd have thought that was really unpopular? So, I think educating people on why they shouldn't have too many children would go a lot further than telling people outright you're not allowed to have children. Because, you know, just... It is the carrot and the stick, isn't it, really? It's if you tell people, no, you may not do this, that is your stick. If you tell people, hey, you could try not doing this because it's better for everybody in the long run, and here's a list of reasons and things, then, yeah, that would be better. As always, I think a lot, again, because, as I mentioned with the work and whatnot, a lot of it kind of comes down to money, and the government has a lot of control over things with financial incentives and stuff. I've talked about this in regard to business in the past. If you want to shape things, you offer financial incentives to people for doing or not doing things. You say, hey, look, you will get paid money if you do or do not do X. So, I don't know, I'm sure the government could come up with some scheme to try and control, shape the way... I don't know whether I want to do that room, because we're already at the half-hour mark, and I'm going to be in there for like 5 minutes if we're going there, so I'm just going to head down, I think. So, yeah. So governments could absolutely have a great deal more control over things if they offered financial incentives to say, hey, look, you will get money if you have children. I mean, I guess we all kind of already do that, but only for one child or something? I mean, in the UK, that's already kind of a thing. I know the current government's trying to phase it out, which is child tax credits. If you have one child, you will be paid a monthly allowance from the government. If you have 2 children, you get paid for the second child, but less so. 3rd, 4th, 5th, so on. You will continue to get money, but it's diminishing returns, is kind of what that is. So, I don't know, you could do that more aggressively, I suppose. There are ways and means around it, and I'm sure the government has people that could put that in place if they so desired, but I don't think the global overpopulation problem, and make no mistake, it is absolutely a problem, is not one that is particularly being addressed by any governments to any great extent, with the exception of maybe China, who are doing it in a really kind of ham-fisted way. So, yeah, there's that. Let's have a look at what Basil's got to sell, and then we shall call it an episode, I suppose. What does Basil have for us today? He has a Raptor recipe and a Mega Tundrus recipe. Ooh, do I want to make that kind of investment? That's quite the investment. I think I do. I think I can sell those. Boom. Excellent. So there we go. That brings us to the end. So don't forget to leave a like on this video if you've enjoyed it, because that helps me out a bunch. If you're not already subscribed and you have enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Then you will get more content like this every week, and all the things we have discussed in the course of the episode are things that will be coming up on the channel in the near future as well, so you'll get those as well. I don't know if I link it in the description below, but my Twitch channel, if you don't subscribe to my Twitch channel and you would like to be a part of the upcoming live stream content, maybe you should go subscribe to me over on Twitch, because then you will get that content. That would be good. And don't forget to check out my Patreon, as I say, if you would like to see things like 1080p content, then maybe if you went and... if you were really kind and wonderful and a lovely person and donated a small amount every month, that would push us towards that goal of me getting a monitor that actually allows me to play a game at 1080p and therefore can record at 1080p and therefore can get content to you at 1080p. And then everyone wins. It'd be good. So there'll be a link to that in the outro in a second, and you can check that out there. So thank you very much for watching. I have been Meroka, this has been Spiel, and I will see you next time. Yeah!